Hello everyone, welcome to Inside Winston Cup Racing. We're in the garage area on Sunday morning at the Michigan International Speedway on top of the Die Hard truck. We had a lot of action here this past weekend. We have a lot for you in this half hour of Inside Winston Cup Racing, and here's what's coming up.
Well, Dale Jarrett finally visited victory lane. It was his first career Winston Cup victory ever in a photo finish here at Michigan, beating Davey Allison by mere inches. It was the Wood brothers' first win in 3 years and the first time a Jarrett has visited victory lane in some 26 years. We'll bring you all the exciting action from the Champion Spark Plug 400 coming up.
Speaking of winners, NFL coach Joe Gibbs has 2 Super Bowl titles with the Washington Redskins. In 1992, he teams up with Dale Jarrett in hopes of tackling the Winston Cup circuit with equal success. We'll hear from both men on the new organization.
And beneath the roar of the engines, the cameras are clicking as photographers try to capture that perfect picture at Winston Cup events. You'll meet some of the select few that provide the pictures for your favorite racing publications.
Today's show is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Miller Genuine Draft, cold filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold. By Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful tires, the Goodyear Eagles. By Kodacolored Gold Film, show your true colors. And by Haviland, add more life to your car.
The start-finish line at the Michigan International Speedway was an exciting place on Sunday afternoon for the Champion Spark Plug 400. It was exciting for the Jarrett family, too, because Dale Jarrett just barely edged out Davey Allison for his first ever NASCAR Winston Cup victory. It was the first time that a Jarrett had been in one of these victory lanes since I won my last race back in 1965. It was a glorious day. Well, there were a lot of other things going on here at Michigan besides that exciting race. Jeff Bodine confirmed that he will not be back with Junior Johnson in 1992, and there were some other rumors floating around as well. For more on those rumors and highlights of the Champion Spark Plug 400, let's go to Randy.
Well, Ned, there's no doubt about it. The rumors were swirling up here at Michigan. Where will Jeff Bodine be in 1992? Well, possibly the Citgo Fords, which are being vacated by Dale Jarrett, owned by the Wood brothers. If not, maybe the Motorcraft Ford owned by Bud Moore. Jeff Bodine could possibly end up there. Well, we do know that Bill Elliott will be with Junior Johnson in 1992, but who will be his crew chief? Mike Beam worked with Bill back in 1990 on the Coors Ford, but if he's currently crew chiefing for Sterling Marlin right now. How about Tim Brewer in the Budweiser Ford Thunderbirds? Could that be Bill Elliott's crew chief in 1992? We'll have to wait and see. Now, the Silver Bullet sponsorship has been rumored to be out of racing in 1992, but we've also heard that Jack Roush and Alan Kowicki are both bidding for their services in 1992. Of course, Roush has hired Wally Dallenbach Jr. to run a second team next to Mark Martin over there in Liberty, North Carolina. Now, Mark Martin, who qualified on the outside of the front row here in Michigan, notice the Folgers colors on the side of that car. They won't be there in 1992. This car will be a Valvoline car. Now, there were some teams that also changed manufacturers as soon as right here in Michigan, Barbara Healy and Butch Mock showed up instead of an Oldsmobile with a Chevrolet for the Dinner Bell Meats people. They will be running a Chevrolet intermittently the rest of the season. There are some rumors of some other teams changing manufacturers in 1992. King Racing with Brett Bodine currently has Buicks, and also Bobby Allison with a Buick. He may be changing to Chrysler. We'll have to see in 1992. Now, qualifying here for the Champion Spark Plug 400, Alan Kowicki on the pole. As a matter of fact, 8 out of the top 11 starters were Ford Thunderbirds.
Today's Winston Cup highlights are brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
The Fords of Alan Kowicki, Mark Martin, and Davey Allison diced it up for the lead over the first few laps of the Champion Spark Plug 400. That's before Allison asserted himself out front, showing the force that placed him in victory lane during the Miller Genuine Draft 400 at Michigan back in June. Allison appeared to be the car to beat in the early going. While his Ford ran flawlessly, Winston Cup points leader Dale Earnhardt was headed for one of his worst finishes of the season. A cut right rear tire forced him to the pits under the first caution flag condition. But before the race went back to green, the GM Goodwrench crew had to go to work on the car behind the wall to fix damage suffered when the tire blew. Earnhardt would finish 26th and now leads Ricky Rudd by only 69 points in the chase for the title. Although no one was as dominant as Davey on the day, 12 different drivers led the mad scramble at Michigan, including Morgan Shepherd in the Motorcraft Ford, who led laps 41 through 48 before going down to Davey once again. But even Allison had his problems when a right rear tire equalized. That put him out of sync during pit stops with the front runners for much of the afternoon. The worst wreck of the day demolished the cars of Jim Sauter and Joe Ruttman on lap 143. That's when all the front runners found their way to pit road for fuel and fresh rubber. But when the green flag flew on lap 150, few crew chiefs were confident that the fuel added was sufficient to take them to the finish. Harry Gant got out front on the restart and led until Davey and his Ford found his way back to the front once again. But what about fuel? Could his Ford make it to the finish? We would never have to find out, as a final caution flag flew for debris on the racetrack with 13 laps to go. All 9 cars on the lead lap pitted as Allison took on 4 tires. And when they lined up for the restart with 10 laps remaining, Dale Jarrett in the Citgo Ford, who pitted for fuel only, led the fray. Jarrett, looking for his first Winston Cup win ever, stood the challenge of Allison lap after lap. Davey dove to the outside as they headed for the white flag. Once again, Allison attempted the pass as they headed for the checkers. The two would touch coming out of turn 4. It would be a Ford, but which one? It was Dale by 8 inches in one of the closest finishes in NASCAR history. After 129 Winston Cup starts, Jarrett finally found his way to victory lane in one of the most popular wins of the Winston Cup season.
The last 4 races has to have me thinking about leaving, is this the right thing? But it's a little bit tough. It's just decisions that you have to make, and I hope we can win a couple more races. And these people have been so good to me. The Wood brothers are such great people, and they're so good for this sport that we need for people like that to win.
Take a short break. Still to come is a story on football coach Joe Gibbs as he enters NASCAR Winston Cup racing. As we leave you, here's the balance of the finishing order for the Champion Spark Plug 400. I'm sure a lot of people in the sports world were surprised when Joe Gibbs announced recently that he would field a NASCAR Winston Cup team in 1992. But those close to Gibbs know that it was not too big of a surprise because they know that he has been interested in auto racing for a long, long time. In fact, he drove in some drag races many years ago before he got to the NFL as coach of the Washington Redskins. Well, the opportunity finally came that he was looking for to get into NASCAR Winston Cup racing.
I'm not going to get shoved inside the number, so I got to change direction on that. That was a good job of the defense. Hey, get down and get after it. Let's go. Come on.
Washington Redskins football coach Joe Gibbs knows how to win championships. And now Winston Cup driver Dale Jarrett knows how to win races. Together, the two, along with crew chief Jimmy Makar, will team up in an attempt to tackle the tough Winston Cup circuit next season. Recently, while at the Redskins training camp in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, the trio held their first huddle, mapping out their game plan for 1992.
I'm going to try and give the guys everything that it takes and then cheer for them, and then I'm going to give any suggestions I've got, but I'm always, I hope have enough guts in the end to say, hey, you guys do it your way. I think it'll be Jimmy Makar making decisions about the car, and it'll be Dale driving it, and but I want to be supportive and try and get them everything I can to make them go fast.
On top of the support from Chevrolet, their major sponsor, Interstate Batteries, along with Marriott Hotels, Juice Bowl Products, and the National Football League, will all play a part in the sponsorship role.
I am excited about the things that are happening next year, and There were a lot of surprises, even to me, about sponsorship on the car. I knew of Interstate Batteries and knew that the NFL may be involved, but they're definitely going to be in a big way. And then Juice Bowl came on as a sponsor and the Marriott. So we're in pretty good shape with that, and things are really looking good. It just keeps getting better and better each day. And Jimmy is over getting cars and equipment ready to go, and they're getting our building ready. So it's a lot of exciting things happening, and I look forward to working with Joe and everybody next year.
Starting a team from the ground floor up is certainly a major undertaking, but it won't be long before Jimmy pencils in his starting lineup, and you can be sure he'll have some heavy hitters.
I've only been doing it for 2 weeks now, but I spent a lot of time on the phone talking to different people about possibilities of coming to work. We've had a real good turnout of folks that are interested in working with us, so I'm really, really happy about that. Right now, we've just got into the shop. We got a little bit of work to do to it to get it up to racing form. It's a warehouse type place. It's never been a race shop before, so we're doing some work inside to conform it into a race shop. It should be done probably the second week of September.
By that time, the Skins will have already hosted the Detroit Lions in the season opener at RFK Stadium. The question is Gibbs more optimistic about winning next year's Winston Cup title or next year's Super Bowl?
I don't know about that. We're not. If y'all know where we are right now, we're not talking that tune around here. I'll tell you that. We're trying to find a way to beat somebody here in preseason. Is all we're trying to do right now.
There's no doubt that Coach Gibbs is one of the best in the game at calling the plays, but how involved will he be at calling a gas-and-go pit stop?
Since I'm the so-called coach of this team now, if you don't try to make our calls on pit strategy and then second guess what we do, I promise you on Monday morning I won't second guess your 4th and 1 call.
The coach does plan to attend as many Winston Cup races as possible next season, and while winning is a tradition with the Skins, he hopes that some Sunday in 1992, Joe Gibbs Racing will take its first ever checkered flag.
What I'm thrilled about is these guys are willing to say, hey, Joe hadn't been in this before, and they're willing to step over here and go into a new team. And I want it to go for them. I'm going to be thrilled. I told Dale, when he wins his first one there, that I'll be the most thrilled guy in the world. And I says, I'm going to stay well in the background, and you'll never hear anything from me. Actually, I'll probably jump on the hood and go, I did it all. You know what I mean? But hopefully I'll be able to restrain myself.
But as we all know, winning and losing in football rests on the shoulders of the quarterback. And in stock car racing, it's the driver that ultimately carries the team to victory lane.
This is just an opportunity I'm looking forward to. Joe has put together something here that he's got the sponsor, the money there, and that it's going to take to do this. Chevrolet with all their technology helping us and being behind us. I have the best chassis man in the business. I guess that kind of leaves it all up to me, and I'm looking forward to that. They're going to say, you've got everything now. No excuses not to win, and I don't want us to have any excuses. I want us to be answering, are you ever going to stop winning is what the question's going to be here.
Well, certainly they seem to have all the ingredients it takes to field a top-notch team in 1992. Joe Gibbs certainly has proven himself as a great leader and a motivator, and Jimmy Makar has proven that he's one of the best chassis men in the business, and Dale Jarrett will prove that he can get the job done on the track, too. They should do okay. Now here's this week's Haviland Track Talk.
This edition of Track Talk is brought to you by Haviland. Add more life to your car.
At Watkins Glen, the Tide Chevrolet team was in a race just to make the race. After Ricky Rudd crashed in practice, the crew performed major cosmetic surgery on their frontline road course car.
That's something that's not done every week, thank goodness. I think all these guys would find something else to do, but they're real good team players. They want to win the race. We rolled the backup car out of the truck, and it just wasn't the car that the first car was, so they went with plan B, and they cut the back end off the backup car and are putting it on the car that I wrecked earlier. So what it means is we're going to sacrifice starting position. We'll probably start dead last in the race, but I'd rather start last with a car that can win the race than to start, say, 7th, 8th, or 9th with a car that's going to run 5th to 10th. So these guys felt the same way about it, so they stepped up and doing all this extra work.
And that work was rewarded. Rudd started 22nd and finished 2nd behind Ernie Irvin.
Next week, you'll see the highlights from under the lights as the Winston Cup stars heat up the night in the Bud 500. The evening event in Bristol, Tennessee is always a thriller, providing plenty of high-speed short-track action.
And the Budweiser 250 sets the stage for the Busch Grand Nationals to strut their stuff on the Bristol High Banks. There's never a dull moment as Busch and Winston Cup regulars go head-to-head.
We'll also take a look at the role of auto manufacturers. Supplying windshields and sheet metal is only part of the responsibility. You'll hear some very important people explain how planned cutbacks may affect the sport next week.
Perhaps no sports figure has been photographed more than Richard Petty. If you're a die-hard race fan, you've perhaps subscribed to one of the racing papers or magazines, and you see all of the pictures and stories that are involved. It takes a lot of people to put all of that together. Now this week we're going to focus on the paparazzi in the pits.
You often see their work, but seldom see their faces, constantly clicking away to capture the many moments of a Winston Cup weekend. An army of still photographers march through the garage and around the track, well-armed and well-focused, with a single mission in mind: to bring this fast-paced sport to a standstill. Each week, their work is a reflection of Winston Cup racing, and at any given event, they'll shoot
probably in the average of 30 to 40-year-olds in a weekend. The exception would be Daytona and Charlotte, where I might shoot anywhere from 60 to 100 rolls of film.
Then we have to go back to the lab, process the film, edit, make prints. Our deadline is 8 o'clock Monday morning.
And who are they shooting for?
I shoot for Auto Week first. Right now, for Stock Car Magazine, we do a lot of freelance work.
Winston Cup scene, 3 years, and before that I did some for Stock Car Racing Magazine.
I work for Dixie Racing News.
And of course, there are always the corporate accounts, but you can never be sure where that coveted photo may end up.
To this day, I'll go into a racing collectible shop and I'll still see posters and postcards that were done 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago that I never even saw before. There were pictures that I supplied to clients. They end up used in a postcard or a poster somewhere. You know, I never even saw it until 5 years after the fact.
Some photographers can spend Sundays racing up and down pit road, trying to grab that one super shot. Or for some, the challenge is a more personal portrait.
I'm a person photographer. I like to shoot people. Race cars going around the racetrack all the time. It's basically the same thing. Unless you get something really dramatic, it's the same thing. The challenge is the low light situations I get into in the garage and staying out of the way, and at the same time getting in there and getting the photographs of these guys. And I think the drivers always get the publicity, but the crew guys don't. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Russ and Joanne Hamilton have made photography a family affair, crisscrossing the country in their car to shoot the Winston Cup cars.
I used to be a police officer in Pennsylvania and always liked race cars. And I just went a couple of times and got lucky with a couple of shots and got published, and one thing led to another. And I was able to get away from police work and get into this full time, and I enjoy it.
And every Sunday after the loud and long, fast-paced race, there is the photographic serenity of Victory Lane. It's enough to make even the most professional photographer shudder.
Today's mailbox is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
And our question this week comes from John Keller of Cumberland, Maryland, who writes, just exactly what is the difference between street plugs and racing spark plugs? Well, John, I don't know of anyone who can answer that question better than Waddell Wilson, who is the crew chief on the Tide Chevrolets that Ricky Rudd drives. He's looked at more spark plugs than anyone.
Well, John, our race plugs are a colder plug, which we can run higher compression and different fuels, which, we run the Union racing gasoline, which is 108 octane. And the street plugs a lot of times have extended tips or real hot plugs to run with low compression engine and work under all kind of conditions, whereas a race plug works, with operating temperature of 180, 190 water and 220 on oil. And we have to, a lot of times, Daytona and Talladega have the spark plugs, the engine warmed up so the spark plugs will perform well and not foul out. But there is a big difference. A lot of people try to run the spark plugs on in street engines. It goes in race cars, and that certainly doesn't work.
If you have any race questions, you can write to us at Inside Winston Cup Racing, Box 240417, Charlotte 28224. Or you can now call us at 1-900-84-RACES. Charge is $1 per minute, average call 2 minutes. Fans 18 and under, get your parents' permission before calling. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Genuine Draft jacket free. Fans 21 and under will receive an IWCR cap and t-shirt.
Our time's up for today as we leave the Michigan International Speedway. It's the last track that we run this year that's over 1.5 miles. Next week, it'll be short track action from Bristol, Tennessee. Join us.
Today's show has been brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Miller Genuine Draft, coal filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold. By Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful tires, the Goodyear Eagles. By Kodacolored Gold Film, show your true colors. And by Haviland, add more life to your car. Inside Winston Cup clothing provided in part by Sports Image Incorporated, suppliers of quality racing apparel. Communications for Inside Winston Cup Racing Crew provided by Racing Radios, Forest Park, Georgia, the official communications of NASCAR. Transportation for Inside Winston Cup Racing provided by Fleetwood Enterprises, makers of a full line of excellent recreational vehicles. And by your Carolina Ford dealers. Nobody outsells Ford in the Carolinas.